Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch this program today. Join me as we take a quick journey to ancient Egypt. I've called in my ancient memory by wearing this handmade Egyptian collar, similar to what the ancient Egyptians wore. And I've brought in Nefertari and Isis, a few of the symbols of ancient Egypt, as well as a photograph of Hathor. I invite you to awaken your ancient memory on our spiritual retreat and tour in Egypt, October the 18th through the 31st this year, 2023. So I'd like to share with you a few slides of some of the places where we'll go. Walk with me. Walk with me in the sacred tombs and temples. Immerse yourself in the pyramids. Feel the ancient energy. Let it surround and embrace you. Our spiritual retreat and tour will offer daily yoga, meditation, sacred circle dance, and you can contact me at my website, motherearthsacredtours.net, or email me directly, Peggy at motherearthsacredtours.net. Our seminar or retreat time during the tour will be held at Hathor House, our spiritual center, where we'll have the opportunity to process our experiences, to get a deeper understanding of the ancient knowledge that's still there in the land and the statues, the buildings, the hieroglyphs. So go with me on this journey. Arriving at Cairo is the beginning of the journey. Ooh, and these are pictures just inside after you get off the plane, not far down the hallway, with these amazing things at the airport. We'll go to Giza to see the pyramids there and some other pyramids, and of course the Sphinx. As we look back in time, the ancient ones mapped the stars as they built these pyramids. They built the geometric resonant pyramids and temples and stone circles aligned with earth and the cosmos to connect with the divine. And the Sphinx, a spiritual guardian, the body of a lion, the head of a human, symbolizing strength and intelligence. And the Sphinx is regarded as the brow center of the chakra system of the land that runs along the Nile River. This is me. I had the opportunity to meditate at Manicure, the smallest of those three large ones in the Giza complex. It may be the smallest, but it has a dynamic energy. And here's our group making our way to the entrance of the Great Pyramid, wandering down the tunnel ways, finally getting to a little bit easier spot, but steep climbing with those steps, and finally an even smoother route. And we step into the chamber in the Great Pyramid with the sound that echoes off the walls, the amazing energy, the beauty, the feeling of knowing that we are a part of ancient history. And then we move from Giza a little south toward Saqqara and Dashur, where more pyramids are located. But first, we're going to stop for lunch at the Blue Lotus Water Gardens. It's an amazing place with the sacred lotus flower. And we had and will have a wonderful lunch. Our dessert at the last trip was oranges straight off the tree, right outside the door of the restaurant. Here our guide is explaining the temple that's near the step pyramid. The step pyramid obviously has some not as strong as the other ones are that are in Giza, because it's probably the earliest of the colossal stone buildings. This is the Red Pyramid in the same general area, and this is a circle of silence that we're in before entering the pyramid. And inside the Red Pyramid, we had some meditative time to really stand in meditation, letting the energy flow in. And as you can see in the photograph, I even had orbs to show up on the photo. Our last night in Cairo, we spent part of the time at a Bedouin camp just outside of the city, where we could see the city lights, as well as in the distance see the light show on the pyramids. And our next adventure is off to Cairo, from Cairo to Luxor. Yes, we'll stay at a locally owned hotel with private gardens, and each day we'll travel out to these amazing temples and statues, still imbued with the essence of the ancient gods and goddesses. But all will not be visiting temples and sitting in seminar. We'll have plenty of time for afternoons at local cafes, and perhaps some time at the souk, the marketplace, where there's a restaurant called Khartoum, who was a famous singer in the 20s there in Egypt. And Habu Temple on the West Bank is an enormous complex. It's with different structures and different buildings within, and Sekhmet guards the temple entrance. I'm always amazed, no matter how many times I've been to Habu. There's such an energy that just opens to those who are willing to let it flow. We'll take a trip to the desert to visit the Coptic church that is held as a sacred place. The nuns there tell us the story of the time when this was a sanctuary for Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus during their time in Egypt. The Karnak temple is very large. As you can see, the columns are enormous. And there are 4 obelisks even at this particular complex, erected by Hatshepsut, who was the most famous woman pharaoh in Egypt. So there are several temples within the Karnak structure, and one of them is a very small temple dedicated to Sekhmet. There are hieroglyphs on walls of many temples showing the lion head with the solar disk on her and Uraeus on her head. So we were able to have a private viewing inside this very small room with this enormous, beautiful statue. And wandering through Karnak, local people are very friendly and invite us to take pictures and talk with them for a while. Karnak is one of the places in Egypt that is aligned with the solstices. And here at Karnak, the sun sets at summer solstice and rises at winter solstice, shining the light through this particular tunnel made with the columns. Between Luxor Temple and Karnak Temple, there is a 2-mile-long processional route with sphinxes that were made by various pharaohs, and each pharaoh chose a different head for a long row of the sphinxes. And here are some even with the cow head and the large cow horns dedicated to Hathor. At the end of that procession is the entrance to Luxor Temple, another large complex with many smaller temples within. The tops of these columns, which once had a roof, are cut into lotus flowers, and you can see how large these statues of the Sphinx of the pharaohs are. Right up against Luxor Temple is Abu el-Hadig Mosque. It's built into the wall of the ancient temple using the original columns. And when this mosque was built, much of the Luxor Temple area was still hidden under sand and did not see how much of the mosque was a part of the original Luxor Temple until much later when it was excavated. Luxor is the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens on the West Bank, which is where our spiritual center is. One of the things to see along the road is the colossi of the Memnon, these massive statues that are more than 50 feet tall. They're in behind us. This is our Egyptian guide, myself and Maggie, who will be the Sacred Circle dance leader on this tour. And this is one day when I was wandering in the neighborhood. This is one of our neighbors baking bread, her daily bread baking activity in this outdoor fireplace. And these are her beautiful grandchildren. In the Valley of the Queens, we find Hatshepsut's temple, an enormous complex built into the very wall of the mountain behind it. And we are again standing in a circle of silence before entering this complex. And of course, Luxor is home to King Tut's tomb, as well as the Carter House. Carter was the Brit archaeologist who opened the tomb to the world. And another there on the West Bank is the Rasmussen Temple. And there I am, having tea beside the Nile in the afternoon. I'm resting up because the next day we're taking a long trip to Hathor's Dendara Temple. This temple, again, it has several smaller temples within, but the large one, just so that you can see a little perspective, this is a person standing at the door, and the door itself is twice as tall as a person. So you can imagine how large this temple is. Inside the temple are carvings of Hathor and other hieroglyphs on the walls. And on the ceiling is the famous zodiac carved in the same zodiac that we use today, carved into the ceiling at Dendara. And we'll go to Abydos, possibly the oldest ancient site in Egypt, with original temples and a temple built on top of that, and even later another temple on top of that one. Abydos is the place where ancient Egyptians hoped to visit sometime during their life. It was a pilgrimage center for the worship of the god Osiris and is strongly associated with the entrance into the afterlife. And tourists go there to see the carvings in the ceiling because we see things that look to us like a helicopter, a modern boat, a spacecraft, and of course, the honeybee that was very important to the Egyptian culture. And many of our days, we will have sunset on the Nile, watching the beautiful water as it changes colors with the setting sun. We'll sail on these feluccas into the sunset with dancing and food and laughter. When we end the tour, we'll go back to Cairo and we'll say goodbye, but we'll hold on to the memory of the ancient teachings. So if you're interested in this tour, please contact me. Thank you. Thank you for your time.